The chilling truth behind their relationship. A true crime mystery unraveled. Hook. What if everything you thought was real was just a game? A deadly game where you were the pawn. Watch until the end to uncover the shocking truth behind Laurie's murder and the twisted betrayal that no one saw coming. The real killer is closer than you think. Don't miss the shocking twist that will leave you speechless. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Her eyes darted around the dimly lit apartment, as if expecting something to jump out at her. The air was thick, almost suffocating. Every breath felt heavier than the last. Her heart raced as she clutched the envelope in her hand. Inside, the contents had been a mystery, but now, the truth was slipping through her fingers. The last few days had been a blur. Her mind still couldn't wrap around it. The case had seemed simple at first. A missing person, a broken family, but the deeper she dug, the stranger the story became. There was something off about Laurie's disappearance, something everyone had overlooked. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the phone. She had to call him, the detective, the one person who knew the truth, or so she thought. Her phone buzzed before she could dial the number. It was him. "Meet me at the usual place." His voice was calm, almost too calm. It made her uneasy. The usual place was an old diner on the edge of town. She didn't like going there. The flickering neon sign always made her skin crawl. She pushed the door open with a creak, her eyes scanning the room. The detective was sitting in the far corner, his back turned. She took a deep breath and walked over. His face was hard to read as he looked up at her. "Do you have it?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded, sliding the envelope across the table. His eyes never left it. He opened it slowly. The silence between them stretched. Then he looked up, his eyes dark. This wasn't just a murder. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't expected him to say that. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The detective leaned in, his breath cold on her skin. Laurie's death wasn't random. It was planned. The shock hit her like a punch to the gut. "Who did it?" she managed to choke out. He looked away. It was someone close to her, someone she trusted. The pieces started to fall into place. The truth was more twisted than she ever imagined. As the detective stood to leave, he dropped a final bombshell. "Be careful. They're still watching you." She froze. The realization hit like a wave crashing over her. The mystery was far from over. Her pulse quickened as she stared at the detective's retreating figure. The door slammed behind him, but the echo lingered in the air, heavy and ominous. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The weight of his words pressed down on her chest. "They're still watching you." The diner, once a familiar place, now felt suffocating. The clink of silverware, the low murmur of conversation, all felt too loud, too close. She turned to leave, but the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. Someone was watching her. She glanced around, her eyes scanning every corner. A figure in the shadows caught her attention. It was a man, sitting alone at the bar, his face obscured by the brim of his hat. But there's something in his posture, something that made her blood run cold. She couldn't see his eyes, but she could feel them on her. She didn't hesitate. She stood up and left the diner, her steps quick and deliberate. The night air was crisp, but it did nothing to calm her nerves. Her car was parked just down the street. She made her way toward it, her eyes darting around. Every sound seemed amplified now. Her heartbeat, the crunch of gravel under her feet, the distant hum of passing cars. She reached the car, fumbling for her keys. But before she could unlock the door, she heard it. A soft click. She turned, her breath caught in her throat. There was no one there, just the sound of the wind rustling through the trees. But something about it didn't feel right. Her instinct screamed at her to get in the car, drive, and never look back. She quickly unlocked the door and slid into the driver's seat. As the engine roared to life, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being followed. The streets were empty, but every shadow felt like it was hiding someone. She couldn't stop glancing in the rearview mirror. Nothing, just the dark stretch of road behind her. But the feeling didn't fade. The truth she had uncovered was just the beginning. Someone was determined to make sure she never shared it. The headlights from a passing car flashed in her rearview mirror, blinding her for a moment. She squinted, adjusting her grip on the wheel. For a split second, the world felt blurry. A strange dizziness took over her, but she shook it off. She focused on the road, speeding up, hoping to outrun the creeping unease. Every turn, every alley seemed unfamiliar now. The streets felt like a maze. She couldn't shake the sensation of eyes on her, following her every move. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat, making her jump. With trembling hands, she grabbed it, hoping it was the detective. But it wasn't. The message was short, simple. Asterisk, I know where you are. Asterisk. Her heart dropped. She quickly glanced around, her eyes scanning the streets. Who sent this? No one knew she was heading home. No one except. The thought hit her like a slap. The detective. But why would he send her this? She swallowed hard. There was no time to think. Her foot slammed harder on the accelerator, the engine roaring in protest. The familiar turn to her apartment building was up ahead. Her hands gripped the wheel, so tight her knuckles turned white. But then something caught her eye. A figure on the sidewalk, standing still, like they were waiting for her. The dark silhouette seemed to blend with the shadows, barely visible under the streetlights. Her breath caught in her throat. Her foot hovered over the brake, but she didn't stop. She sped past, her eyes locked on the figure in the rearview mirror. She couldn't see their face, but she knew she was being hunted. The hairs on her neck prickled again. A quick glance in the mirror confirmed what she feared. The figure was now behind her, walking down the street at an impossible pace. How were they keeping up? Her hands shook as she gripped the wheel tighter. The apartment was just ahead, but the dread had already swallowed her. She didn't feel safe. Not anymore. The car's tires squealed as she made the turn into the parking lot. She parked hastily, the engine cutting off with a jarring screech. But she didn't get out. She sat there, frozen, staring at the dark street behind her. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. This one was different. It read, Asterisk, we're inside. Asterisk. She could hear her breath catching in her chest. The apartment door. The locked windows. She had always felt safe here, but now there was no safety. Just the creeping, suffocating fear. She reached for the door handle, but she couldn't bring herself to open it. Not yet. Something told her it was already too late. Her hand trembled over the door handle, but she couldn't open it. Every instinct screamed at her to stay inside, to lock herself in, to pretend she didn't hear the faint creak coming from somewhere behind her. The silence was deafening. Her phone buzzed again. Asterisk, turn around. Asterisk. Her breath hitched in her throat. The words felt like a cold gust of wind pressing against her skin. With shaky hands, she turned slowly, glancing over her shoulder. The darkness in the parking lot was thick, impenetrable. But there, standing under the flickering streetlight, was a figure. Just standing, still, watching. She couldn't make out their features, but the shape was unmistakable. Her pulse quickened. Her eyes darted around, desperately searching for something to explain the figure's presence. The parking lot was nearly empty, except for a few abandoned cars and the shadows creeping along the walls of the nearby buildings. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Her breath was shallow now, and her mind raced through every possible scenario. Was this the person who'd been following her? The one who knew too much? Her mind kept coming back to one terrifying possibility. The truth she had uncovered wasn't meant to be uncovered. And now, she was part of a much darker story than she had ever imagined. The figure didn't move an inch. She couldn't stay in the car forever. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to open the door, her heart pounding against her chest. The cold air hit her like a slap as she stepped outside, her feet feeling heavy on the asphalt. The figure didn't seem to react. She took a step forward, then another. Slowly, cautiously, she moved toward the building. Each step felt like an eternity. But just as she reached the entrance, she heard a noise from behind her. A door creaked open. Her heart stopped. A shadow moved quickly toward her, her body tensed, ready to run. But before she could react, she was grabbed from behind. Cold hands wrapped around her arms, pulling her back. Her breath caught in her throat. She struggled, but the grip was too strong. "Shh," a voice whispered, too close to her ear. "We're not done with you yet." The world seemed to spin as the figure yanked her away from the safety of the building. Her thoughts scattered. She couldn't make sense of anything anymore. All she could feel was the cold, the fear, and the unmistakable pressure of someone controlling her every move. "Let go of me," she cried, but the voice only laughed, a low, mocking sound. The grip tightened, dragging her further into the shadows. She tried to fight back, her nails digging into their skin, but it was no use. They were too strong. In the darkness, she saw something she hadn't noticed before, a faint glow from a distant street lamp, flickering in and out like a dying heartbeat. She couldn't see where they were taking her, but she knew one thing. It was far from over. Her mind raced, trying to latch onto anything, any escape, any chance to break free. But their grip was unrelenting. The chill in the air seemed to press in on her, suffocating, as though the night itself was closing around her. She tried to twist, to break free, but the hand on her arm was like iron. "Don't scream," the voice hissed in her ear, sending a cold shiver down her spine. "We don't want to attract attention." Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat loud in her ears. She forced herself to focus. There had to be something, anything she could do. The figure moved with quick, deliberate steps, dragging her further away from the safety of the streetlights. She twisted again, her eyes darting in every direction, looking for anything she could use to defend herself. She was getting closer to an alley now, the dim glow of distant lamps barely illuminating the narrow path ahead. Her pulse hammered in her throat. The shadows were closing in. "Please," she gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "Who are you?" The figure didn't answer. They just pulled her forward with an eerie calm. Her mind scrambled, frantically searching for any memory, any clue that could explain this, could explain them. Then it hit her. The case. The missing pieces. Laurie's death. Everything had been connected in ways she hadn't understood before. The pieces fell into place with a sickening clarity. The detective. The cryptic messages. Laurie's murder. The constant feeling of being watched. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't just about Laurie. It was about something far more dangerous. Something much larger than a simple crime. She tried to calm her breathing, to think clearly. Her eyes caught sight of something, an abandoned dumpster near the alley's end. Her muscles screamed for movement. She couldn't just let this happen. With everything she had left, she surged forward, twisting in their grip. For a second, the figure stumbled, startled by her sudden resistance. It was just enough. With one desperate lunge, she yanked herself free, breaking away from the shadowed figure's hold. She spun around, breath ragged, her legs burning from the sudden movement. But the figure wasn't done. They reached for her again, their hand coming too close, too fast. In that split second, she saw something that made her stomach lurch. The figure wasn't alone. From the darkness, another shadow appeared, moving swiftly toward her. Her heart skipped. She couldn't outrun them both, but she had no choice. With every ounce of strength left in her, she turned and ran. Her feet pounded the pavement, the sound echoing in the empty streets. She barely registered the sharp corners, the alleys, the empty cars she passed. She could hear them behind her, the footsteps growing louder, closer. The city around her was a blur, just a maze of shadows and cold light. She didn't dare look back. She couldn't afford to. Her lungs burned, her body protesting the constant strain. But she didn't stop. Every corner she turned felt like it was leading her deeper into danger, deeper into a trap. Then she heard a voice close. Too close. Asterisk, you can't run forever. Asterisk. The words froze her in her tracks. She skidded to a halt, her heart racing. She spun around, trying to see through the blackness of the alley, but it was too late. The figure was already there, standing before her. And this time, they weren't alone. Her breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped closer, their presence looming over her like a suffocating shadow. The air was thick with dread. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs felt like lead. The figure didn't move at first, just watching her. The silence between them stretched, heavy and thick. Then another voice emerged from the shadows. It was low, almost too calm. Asterisk, you should have never dug this deep, asterisk. The second figure stepped into the dim light, their face partially obscured by a mask. Her heart slammed in her chest. She tried to take a step back, but her feet wouldn't move. The first figure spoke again, his voice colder than the night itself. Asterisk, you don't understand yet, do you? Asterisk? Her pulse raced, her mind struggling to catch up with the horror unfolding before her. Asterisk, understand what? Asterisk, she gasped, her voice shaky, barely a whisper in the dark alley. Asterisk, you've uncovered something that was never meant to be found. Asterisk, the masked figure said, his tone chilling. Her mind spun. What was this? Why were they doing this? A wave of realization washed over her. Laurie wasn't just a victim. She was part of a much bigger story. And she was now tangled in it. Asterisk, Laurie's death was only the beginning. Asterisk, the first figure continued, stepping closer. His breath came in shallow rasps, and his eyes glinted with a twisted sort of satisfaction. Asterisk, and you're going to be part of the ending. Asterisk. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her mind flashed back to the messages, to the detective, to everything she thought she knew. Everything was a lie. The detective had been part of this. The way he'd looked at her, the way he'd said, they're still watching you. It all made sense now. She wasn't just in danger. She was the next piece in a puzzle that had been meticulously planned for years. The first figure moved toward her, his hand reaching for her arm again. She swayed, her mind scrambling for an escape. She had no idea where to go, how to fight, how to get out. Her eyes darted around, but the alley was a dead end. The walls closed in on her, suffocating her hope. Then, a sharp noise broke through the silence, the unmistakable sound of a car approaching. The figures froze. She didn't have time to think. With every ounce of adrenaline left in her, she turned and bolted toward the sound. Her feet pounded the ground, desperation lending her speed. She heard them behind her. The chase hadn't stopped. The headlights of the car grew closer. She could see it now, parked at the end of the alley. Her only chance. She pushed harder, her legs burning, her lungs on fire. But the shadowy figures weren't far behind. The car's engine revved, the headlights flashing as she neared. She wasn't sure who was in the car. She didn't care. With one final sprint, she dove for the car door, throwing it open. Go! She screamed as she tumbled inside, barely managing to pull the door shut. The car peeled out of the alley, the tires screeching as they sped away. She glanced back through the rearview mirror, but all she could see was darkness. The figures were gone, for now, but the sense of dread still clung to her, suffocating her. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't care. The only thing that mattered was getting away. Asterisk, getting away alive. Asterisk, the car raced through the night, the headlights slicing through the darkness. She gripped the seat, her body still trembling, her mind spinning. The engine roared, but it couldn't drown out the pounding in her chest. Her breath came in shallow gasps as the adrenaline began to fade, leaving her exhausted and shaken. The person driving didn't say a word, their face hidden by the shadows of the car's interior. She glanced over at them, but they kept their focus on the road ahead, their hands steady on the wheel. She didn't know who they were, didn't know if she could trust them, but right now she didn't care. The only thing that mattered was the fact that she was moving, escaping, leaving the nightmare behind. But even as the city blurred into the distance, the feeling of eyes on her remained. They're still watching you. The words echoed in her mind like a ghost, lingering in the air. She wanted to scream, to ask what was going on, but the words stuck in her throat. What could she say? What could she even ask? The car's headlights flashed across a sign, an exit leading off the main road. The driver veered off, turning sharply onto a quieter, desolate path. Her heart skipped. The calmness in their movements sent a chill through her. She glanced back through the rearview mirror once more. No sign of anyone following, but the silence in the car was suffocating. Asterisk, where are we going? Asterisk, she finally asked, her voice cracking from the strain. The driver didn't answer immediately. For a moment, it felt like they weren't going to respond at all. Then, softly, their voice broke the silence. Asterisk, you don't want to know, asterisk. The words sent a shiver down her spine. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. The car sped down the winding road, the trees on either side now just dark silhouettes against the night sky. Every mile they drove felt like another step into the unknown. She turned her gaze to the side window, watching the blur of trees and occasional houses. Her mind kept replaying the events over and over. The figures in the alley, the messages, the detective, and Laurie. What had Laurie gotten herself into? What had she uncovered that was so dangerous? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden squeal of tires. The car jolted to a stop. She looked ahead. A barrier. A dead end. The car had stopped just in front of a dark, old building. It looked abandoned, silent, with no lights. Her breath caught again. Asterisk, what is this place? Asterisk, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The driver finally turned their head, meeting her eyes for the first time. Their face was partially obscured by shadows, but there was something cold about their expression. Asterisk, this is where it all ends, asterisk, they said, their voice hollow. A chill ran through her. No, she didn't want to know what that meant. She didn't want to be here. But before she could say anything, the driver reached into the glove compartment, pulling out a small black box. He handed it to her. Asterisk, take this, asterisk, he said. She stared at the box, then back at him, her mind racing. Asterisk, what is it? Asterisk, she asked, her voice trembling. The driver didn't answer. He simply nodded toward the box. With no other choice, she slowly reached out and took it from his hands. The weight of it felt wrong in her hands, heavy, cold, almost as if it held something far more dangerous than she could imagine. She took a deep breath, forcing her hand not to shake as she opened it. Inside, there was a small, folded piece of paper. Her fingers hesitated before she unfolded it. The words written inside were simple, but they made her blood run cold. Asterisk, trust no one, not even me, asterisk. She froze, staring at the paper, her mind trying to process the words. And then, in the distance, she heard something. A noise. A car. It was getting closer. Her heart skipped a beat as the sound of the approaching car grew louder, closer. The peaceful silence of the night was shattered by the distant rumble of an engine. Her eyes darted from the paper in her hands to the driver beside her. His face was unreadable, his posture stiff and tense. Asterisk, what's happening? Asterisk, she whispered, barely able to make a sound, her throat dry. He didn't answer immediately, his eyes fixed ahead, focused on the approaching headlights. She felt the weight of the box in her hands, as though it were a ticking time bomb. Every second felt like a countdown. The car's headlights cut through the dark, like a predator closing in on its prey. The driver's grip on the wheel tightened. His knuckles went white. Asterisk, get out, asterisk, he said, his voice low and urgent. Asterisk now, asterisk. She didn't question him. Fear surged through her, pushing her to act on instinct. Without thinking, she pulled the door open and slipped out of the car, stumbling slightly on the uneven ground. She took a step back, the cold night air biting into her skin. The car, the one approaching, was nearly upon them now. She could see it, a shadowy figure behind the wheel, driving fast, too fast. Her eyes flicked to the driver who had helped her, but he was already moving, disappearing into the darkness of the trees near the building. She didn't hesitate. She had no choice but to follow him. With every step she took, the noise of the approaching car grew louder, the engine's growl like a warning, closing in on her. Her feet felt like they were moving in slow motion, her body heavy with fear. But she kept moving forward, driven by the need to survive. Suddenly a voice, louder now, cutting through the thick tension. Asterisk, you're not going anywhere. Asterisk. She froze, the sound of the voice a deep, menacing presence in the stillness. She glanced over her shoulder. The car had stopped, and the figure from inside stepped out, the headlights casting a sharp silhouette. This was it. Her chest tightened, her pulse hammering in her ears. A figure emerged from the shadows of the trees beside her, the driver from earlier. He'd circled back, but the look on his face, it was different now. There was no calmness, no stoic resolve, only cold, calculated fear. Asterisk, we don't have much time, asterisk, he said, his voice tight. Her head spun. Asterisk, what do you mean? Asterisk, she gasped. Asterisk, they know you're here, asterisk, he answered, his words clipped. Asterisk, and they're not letting you leave, asterisk. Before she could respond, a sharp noise echoed in the air, an unmistakable click of a gun being cocked. She spun around. The figure from the car stepped forward, raising the gun slowly, his finger hovering just above the trigger. Asterisk, you've seen too much, asterisk, he said with a chilling calm. Asterisk, now you're part of the story, asterisk. Her heart pounded in her chest, the world around her narrowing to the figure holding the gun, the cold metal glinting under the dim light. She was trapped. There was nowhere to run, no one left to trust. And the truth she had fought so hard to uncover, it was about to cost her everything. Her mind raced for an escape, anything, any way to survive. But in that moment, it felt hopeless. As the barrel of the gun pointed directly at her chest, everything went still. Her breath caught in her throat. Time stretched a long, endless second. And then the gunshot rang out. The deafening crack of the gunshot pierced the night, sending a jolt through her entire body. For a moment, everything froze. Her chest didn't register the impact. Her mind didn't understand what had just happened. She looked down. Nothing. No blood. No pain. Her breath was sharp, ragged. She could feel her heart pounding, but she was still standing, still alive. Confusion twisted in her stomach, and her gaze snapped up to the figure holding the gun. His face was ashen, his eyes wide with shock. Asterisk what? Asterisk, he stammered, his voice trembling. Before she could process, the world exploded into motion. The sound of footsteps, a blur of movement. The driver from earlier lunged forward, tackling the gunman to the ground with surprising force. The gun went flying, skittering across the gravel, the noise of its impact too loud in the chaos. She backed away, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Her mind scrambled to make sense of everything happening around her. The gunman struggled beneath the driver, but the man on top was relentless. A struggle, a grunting noise. Then the driver rolled off the gunman, grabbing the weapon in one swift motion. The gunman lay still for a moment, his breath ragged, but then he pushed himself up, a grimace on his face. "Get out of here!" the driver shouted at her, his voice hoarse. She didn't need to be told twice. Her legs moved on their own, pushing her toward the darkened building behind them, her feet stumbling over the uneven ground. The distant echo of a car door slamming reached her ears as she ran, but she couldn't look back. Her thoughts were a blur. Was she really safe? Had that been the end? Was it over? She reached the building, the cold stone walls looming ahead. She didn't stop. She couldn't. She flung open the door, rushing inside. The air inside was musty, thick with dust. The dim light from a few broken windows did little to illuminate the place, but it was a refuge. For now, she stumbled through the dark halls, her footsteps quick and uneven. She needed answers. She needed to understand why she was still alive, why she had been spared when everything pointed to her being their next victim. She stopped at a corner, pressing her back against the crumbling wall, listening for sounds. The adrenaline was still coursing through her veins, but her body was shaking now, exhaustion beginning to set in. She heard the faint shuffle of footsteps outside, but they didn't sound like they were following her. The tension in her shoulders loosened slightly, but she didn't dare let her guard down. From the darkness, a voice echoed through the silence. Asterisk, I told you not to trust anyone, asterisk. She spun around, her breath caught in her throat. It was the driver, standing in the doorway, his face barely visible in the shadows. Asterisk, what? What's going on? Asterisk, she gasped, her voice trembling. He didn't move. His gaze was steady, piercing. Asterisk, you're not safe yet, asterisk, he said softly. Asterisk, not by a long shot, asterisk. Her blood ran cold. Asterisk, what do you mean? Asterisk, she demanded. Asterisk, why did you help me? Asterisk, his lips curled into a grim, knowing smile. Asterisk, because, asterisk, he said, his voice dark and heavy. Asterisk, I'm not the one who's been hunting you, asterisk. Before she could ask what that meant, another voice broke the silence. Asterisk, he's not the only one, asterisk. She turned, her heart skipping. A new figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted by the dim light from behind them, and everything inside her screamed in terror as she recognized the familiar face. The detective, the world seemed to collapse around her as she recognized the detective standing in the doorway. Her mind raced, but it felt like time had frozen. The man who had been there to help her, the one who had given her clues, told her she was being watched, warned her to be careful. He wasn't who he appeared to be. The detective's eyes gleamed coldly, a sinister glint that she had missed before. Asterisk, you, asterisk, she whispered, her voice breaking. You were part of this. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped into the room, his calm demeanor betraying nothing. Her breath quickened. The fear that had been building for days was now a crushing weight in her chest. Asterisk, why? Asterisk, she asked, her voice desperate. Asterisk, why did you lead me here? Asterisk. The detective's lips curled into a faint, almost regretful smile, but his eyes held no warmth. Asterisk, you had to find out, asterisk, he said, his voice flat. Asterisk, someone had to expose the truth, asterisk. Asterisk, expose the truth, asterisk, she repeated, her heart hammering in her chest. Asterisk, but Laurie, what happened to Laurie? Asterisk, at the mention of Laurie's name, the detective's expression darkened. Asterisk, Laurie knew too much, asterisk, he replied coldly. Asterisk, she was getting too close to the heart of it all, and you were just the perfect pawn to keep the investigation going, asterisk. Her stomach churned as his words sank in. She had been played, a piece in their game. But why her? Why had they chosen her? Asterisk, you set me up, asterisk, she breathed, disbelief clouding her thoughts. Asterisk, you made me think I was uncovering something real, asterisk. The detective nodded slowly. Asterisk, exactly. You were supposed to figure it out. You were supposed to lead us to the final piece, asterisk. She stepped back, the walls of the room closing in. She couldn't breathe. This was too much. Asterisk, what final piece? Asterisk, she gasped, shaking her head. Asterisk, what is this about? Asterisk. He took a step closer, his face suddenly grave. Asterisk, the game was never about Laurie, asterisk, he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of something darker, something much more dangerous. Asterisk, it was always about you, asterisk. The words hung in the air like a threat. Asterisk, about me, asterisk, she repeated, her mind spiraling, trying to make sense of it all. Asterisk, what are you talking about? Asterisk. The detective's gaze softened, but only slightly, as though he was almost sorry for her. Asterisk, you're part of something bigger, asterisk, he said, his voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. Asterisk, much bigger than you realize. This isn't just about murder or deception. It's about control, asterisk. A sickening chill ran down her spine. She could feel the ground slipping beneath her feet. Before she could respond, a hand landed on her shoulder. She whipped around to see the driver standing behind her. He had moved silently, like a shadow. Asterisk, don't listen to him, asterisk, he said urgently. Asterisk, he's been lying to you from the beginning, asterisk. She turned to face him, her eyes wide with fear. Asterisk, then who can I trust? Asterisk. The driver's gaze hardened, but there was something in his eyes, something dark, something that didn't quite match his calm exterior. Asterisk, not me, not him, not anyone, asterisk, the driver said, his voice low and warning. Asterisk, there's no one left you can trust. Not in this game, asterisk. She staggered backward, trying to process everything, every piece of the puzzle that had just shifted in a way she couldn't comprehend. Asterisk, what game? Asterisk, she whispered, her voice barely audible, trembling with fear and confusion. Asterisk, what the hell is happening? Asterisk. The detective stepped forward then, his voice almost soothing. Asterisk, you're already too deep in it, asterisk, he said with a cruel smile. Asterisk, the moment you uncovered Laurie's death, you stepped into something that was never meant for you to see, asterisk. Her body trembled. The pieces were falling into place, but it was too much, too fast. She wanted to run, to escape from it all, but her legs felt weak, her head dizzy with the weight of the truth. Asterisk, you're part of this now, asterisk, the detective continued, his voice steady, each word calculated. Asterisk, you'll never be able to walk away, asterisk. A cold shiver ran down her spine, but it wasn't just fear. It was the realization that the life she once knew, everything she had believed, was slipping away, piece by piece. And just as she was about to demand more answers, the door behind her slammed open. Another figure entered. Her breath caught. It was someone she hadn't expected, someone she hadn't seen coming. And in that moment, she realized that she had just walked straight into the heart of a nightmare, and there was no turning back. The door slammed open with such force that it echoed through the empty building. She whipped around, her pulse racing, her mind scrambling to make sense of everything. Standing in the doorway was another figure, tall, looming, with a presence that instantly made the air feel thicker. She couldn't place him at first, but the way he moved, the way he looked at her, was unmistakable. It was the same cold, calculating look she had seen in the detective's eyes, but this man, this figure, had something darker in him, something almost predatory. Asterisk, who are you? Asterisk, she whispered, her voice barely audible, her throat dry as she tried to steady herself. The man didn't answer right away. Instead, His gaze flicked to the detective, then to the driver, both of whom were tense, on edge. The detective's eyes narrowed, his hand twitching toward the gun that had been discarded on the floor. The man in the doorway took a slow, deliberate step forward. You shouldn't have come here, he said, his voice deep, almost soothing. But it didn't comfort her. It sent a chill crawling up her spine. What do you want? She managed to croak, her legs trembling beneath her. The man's lips curved into a faint smile, but it was nothing like a friendly expression. It was cold, calculating, like he was savoring her fear. I want to make sure the final piece falls into place, he said, his words precise and sharp. The driver stepped forward, putting himself between the man and her. Stay back, he warned, his voice hard. We don't have to do this, But the man didn't flinch. His smile widened as he took another step forward. We all have our roles to play, he said, his eyes glinting with something dangerously close to amusement. And you, dear, have played yours well, She stumbled back, panic seizing her chest. What are you talking about? She gasped. What do you want with me? The man's gaze never left her, his expression unreadable. It's simple, he said, his tone now chillingly calm. You were the one who would find the answers. You were the one who would unravel the truth. Whether you liked it or not, her mind spun, trying to piece together the words. Laurie, the detective, the driver, and now this man, this mysterious figure in the doorway. She had thought she was uncovering a murder case, a tragedy, a simple truth, but now it felt like she was tangled in a web, each thread leading to something darker, something more dangerous. What is this about? She demanded, stepping back again. Why are you doing this? The man's eyes flickered to the detective, who remained silent, his expression grim. This isn't about you, the man said, his voice low. This is bigger than you could ever imagine, He took another step forward. She wanted to run, to escape, but her body felt paralyzed, rooted to the spot by a terror she couldn't escape. And then the driver spoke again, his voice low and urgent. You need to leave. Now, it's not safe here, But the man didn't seem concerned. He wasn't here to threaten her. No, he was here to control the game. It's already too late for her, the man said, his eyes gleaming. She's already part of the plan, Her stomach churned. What plan? She whispered, her voice shaking. What plan are you talking about? But the man simply smiled again, his gaze never wavering. It doesn't matter anymore, he said, his voice suddenly cold. She's already been marked. She's already a part of something much bigger than she knows, Everything she had thought she understood was falling apart. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. She wasn't just solving a case. She was the case. No, she shook her head, disbelief and fear creeping in. I don't want to be part of whatever this is, The man's smile never faltered. It's too late for that, The driver stepped forward, his expression now more desperate. This wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to keep her safe, But it was clear now. No one was safe. Not from them. Not from whatever this was. The man's hand reached into his coat pocket, pulling out something small, a key. He held it out to her, his eyes never leaving hers. This is the last piece, he said softly. Take it, Her hand shook as she reached out to take the key, the cold metal cold against her skin. She had no idea what it was for, but she knew one thing for certain. This key was the final step, the final trap, and she had no choice but to turn it. The moment her fingers closed around it, everything changed. The moment her fingers closed around the key, a jolt of electricity shot through her, making her body freeze. The key felt heavier in her hand than it should have, as if it were more than just a simple piece of metal. Her breath caught in her throat, her heart hammering against her ribs. The air around her seemed to thicken, the walls closing in. The man in the doorway stepped forward again, his smile deepening as he watched her reaction. Asterisk, do you feel it? Asterisk, he asked, his voice low and steady, but there was an undeniable hint of satisfaction in his tone. Asterisk, the weight of the game. Asterisk. Her fingers clenched around the key, the cold metal digging into her palm. It was like a signal had gone off, pulling her into something much darker than she had ever imagined. Asterisk, what is this? Asterisk, she whispered, her voice trembling. Asterisk, what's going to happen now? Asterisk. The man's gaze flickered to the detective and the driver. The tension in the room was palpable, as if they were all waiting for something to unfold. Asterisk, you've played your part, asterisk, he said, his eyes never leaving hers. Asterisk, and now it's time for the final step, asterisk. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Her mind was racing, thoughts spinning out of control. The weight of the key in her hand seemed to anchor her, pulling her into a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. The detective shifted uneasily, his hand still resting on the gun at his side, his gaze flicking between the man in the doorway and the driver. Asterisk, what's happening? Asterisk, she managed to croak, her throat dry, barely able to hold the words together. The man didn't answer immediately. He only stepped closer, his boots echoing against the concrete floor with each deliberate stride. Then he reached out, taking the key from her hand with a slow, calculated motion. His fingers brushed hers, cold and unfeeling. Asterisk, you should have never gotten involved, asterisk, he said softly, as though speaking to himself, almost regretfully. Asterisk, but now you've unlocked something, asterisk. Her heart slammed in her chest. Asterisk unlocked? What do you mean? Asterisk. He didn't answer her question. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn-out envelope. He placed it in her hands, his fingers cold and firm as he pressed it into her trembling palms. Asterisk inside, asterisk, he said. Asterisk is the final truth, asterisk. Her breath caught. She wanted to rip the envelope open, to see what was inside, to end this madness once and for all. But she didn't move. She couldn't. Everything felt wrong. Asterisk, open it, asterisk, the man commanded, his voice sharp now, more insistent. Asterisk, you've come this far. Finish it, asterisk. The room seemed to close in tighter around her, the walls pressing in. She could feel the heavy weight of the situation suffocating her, each breath a struggle. But with a shaky hand, she tore open the envelope. Inside was a single photograph, folded neatly. She unfolded it, her eyes scanning the image, and there it was, a photo of Laurie. But in the background, there was something, or rather, someone else. Someone she knew. Her blood ran cold. It was the driver, the one who had been her ally, the one who had helped her. And standing next to him, with a look of cold satisfaction in his eyes, was the detective. She staggered back, the photograph slipping from her fingers and fluttering to the floor. Asterisk, no, asterisk, she whispered, her voice breaking. Asterisk, no, this can't be, asterisk. But the man in the doorway was already nodding, as though this was the moment everything had led to. The key, the photograph, the truth, it was all falling into place. Asterisk, it was never about Laurie, asterisk, he said, his voice almost sympathetic now. Asterisk, it was always about you. You were meant to find the truth, to uncover the story. But it's not your story to tell, asterisk. Her mind reeled. She couldn't process the image she had just seen. The realization hit her like a freight train. She had been used. Asterisk, you were never meant to survive, asterisk, the man said, his voice cold now, final. Asterisk, this was always going to end one way. This is how it ends, asterisk. The photograph on the floor seemed to mock her. The faces of the people she had trusted, now twisted into something she couldn't recognize. Her pulse raced as the weight of his words sank in. Everything was a lie. Everything. And now, there was nowhere to run. The air around her thickened with an almost suffocating pressure. Every breath felt shallow, as if the walls themselves were closing in. The truth, the horrible, twisted truth, was right in front of her. And the moment the photograph hit the floor, it was like a door had opened, unleashing everything she had feared. Her vision blurred, her hands trembling as she backed away, her body rebelling against the reality she now had to face. She stumbled toward the corner of the room, desperate to escape, to get away from the suffocating grip of the truth. But she was trapped. She had always been trapped. The detective and the driver were silent now, their eyes locked on her. She could feel their eyes following her every movement, their presence suffocating. Asterisk, you weren't meant to be here, asterisk, the man in the doorway repeated, his voice calm, like a predator savoring its kill. Asterisk, you were never supposed to uncover this. But now that you have, there's no way out, asterisk. Her breath hitched as the words sank in. No way out. It was the truth she had always known, buried deep down. She wasn't the hero of this story. She had never been meant to solve the case, to expose the truth. She was just a pawn in their game. And now, that game had come to its final, brutal end. Asterisk, please, asterisk, she whispered, her voice breaking as she backed further into the corner, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Asterisk, why? Why me? Why did you? Asterisk. But the man interrupted, his voice hard and final. Asterisk, because you were the only one who could have uncovered it, asterisk, he said simply, as though it were the most obvious thing in the world. Asterisk, and now that you have, the story is finished. The truth is out, asterisk. Her mind spun. The silence in the room was suffocating. Her hands still gripped the gun, trembling, the weight of it heavy in her palms. She couldn't look away from the body of the man who had been the mastermind behind it all, the one who had pulled every string, manipulated every event, the one who had killed Laurie. But now he was dead, or so it seemed. Her chest heaved with every breath, her heart still racing as adrenaline pumped through her veins. She had survived. She had fought back and ended the nightmare. But as the room remained eerily still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. That someone was still watching her. The door creaked open. She whipped around, her heart leaping in her throat, expecting another threat to emerge. But this time it was different. It wasn't the killer who stepped through the door, nor the detective or the driver. It was Laurie. But not the Laurie she had known, the one she had been desperately trying to save. This Laurie was different. Her eyes were cold, unblinking, and her face, once full of warmth and life, was now void of any emotion. She stood in the doorway, her figure illuminated by the dim, flickering light. Asterisk, Laurie, asterisk, she whispered, her voice barely a sound, a shock that left her breathless. Asterisk, how are you alive? Asterisk. Laurie's lips curled into a slow, sinister smile. Asterisk, you never understood, did you? Asterisk, she replied, her voice chilling. Asterisk, you were never meant to save me. You were always the one they wanted, asterisk. Her words struck like a bolt of lightning, leaving her frozen in disbelief. Asterisk, what? What do you mean? Asterisk, she stammered, taking a step back, her heart pounding. Laurie stepped into the room, her movements deliberate, calculating. Asterisk, I was never in danger. They were using you from the start, just like they used me, asterisk. Her mind reeled, spinning as the truth unfolded in front of her. Laurie wasn't the victim. Laurie had been playing the game all along, just like the others. Asterisk no, asterisk, she whispered, shaking her head. Asterisk, this can't be real. I saw you die. Asterisk. Laurie's eyes glinted with something dark, something she had missed before. Asterisk, you saw what they wanted you to see, asterisk. And suddenly it all made sense. The lies, the manipulation, the carefully orchestrated series of events, it had all been designed to lead her here. To this moment, she had never been the one to uncover the truth. She had always been the pawn in someone else's game. And now, Laurie wasn't the one who was dead. It was her. She had always been the one who was meant to disappear. The room felt colder now, as if the air had thickened into something solid, pressing down on her chest with each shallow breath. Laurie's presence was suffocating, her calm smile twisted with something cruel and knowing. Her mind raced, trying to piece together everything she had learned, everything she had fought to uncover. She had thought the killer was dead. She had thought she had finally put an end to the chaos, to the nightmare. But the truth she had fought so hard to reveal, was much darker than she could have ever imagined. Laurie took another step closer, her eyes never leaving hers. Asterisk, you still don't get it, do you? Asterisk, Laurie's voice was soft, almost pitying, but there was a chilling edge to it. Asterisk, you were never meant to find the truth. You were always the one they needed, the one who would lead them to it. Asterisk, her stomach twisted. The gun, still clenched in her hand, suddenly felt like a foreign object, something heavy and useless. She wanted to throw it down, but her fingers wouldn't release their grip. Asterisk, but why? Asterisk, she whispered, her voice shaking. Asterisk, why me? Why do you need me? Asterisk, Laurie's smile faded, replaced by something colder, sharper. Asterisk, because you were always in the middle of it. You were always the key to making it all work. They needed you to think you were the hero, that you were saving someone. But you were just another player. Asterisk. The weight of her words settled over her like a dark cloud, and she could feel her resolve slipping, crumbling. She had been a pawn in a game she never understood. Asterisk, so this is it? Asterisk, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, defeated. Asterisk, this was all just a game. Asterisk. Laurie didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked toward the door, her movements slow and deliberate, as though savoring the final moments. Asterisk, the game is over now, asterisk, Laurie said, her voice trailing off as she left the room. Asterisk, and you're free to go, asterisk. But as the door clicked shut behind her, the oppressive silence that followed felt like an unspoken promise. She was free, but at what cost? The gun slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. The truth had been revealed, but it had cost her everything. There was no triumph, no victory, only the hollow echo of a game she would never escape. And as the darkness closed in around her, she understood there was no going back.